All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to talk about a philosophy for life that is, well, it's shockingly simple, but it's got the power to cut through the one thing that holds pretty much all of us back, and that's fear. And believe it or not, it all kicks off with a really strange question. So to really get to the heart of this whole idea, we have to start with this kind of weird, provocative question. Seriously, this question is the key to everything we're going to unpack today. So what do you think it is? What is Satan's favorite meal? The answer, of course, is a metaphor. It's human anxiety and fear. You see, this force, this Satan, it doesn't feed on, actual food. It feeds on our worry. It gets stronger and stronger every single time we get anxious about the future, every time we're just frozen by the fear of what might happen down the road. Okay, so here's the thing. This meal of fear, it isn't just something we cook up inside our own heads. The world around us has basically turned into this giant kitchen, and it's constantly serving up these heaping plates of anxiety for us. I mean, just think about it for a second. The news, it thrives on crisis. Social media, it's like a nonstop battlefield of arguments and judgment. And politics, it's always dividing us, right? Pitting us against each other, us versus them. All of these forces, they're almost perfectly designed to make us feel anxious and afraid and angry. They're just constantly feeding that metaphorical devil. And the source material has this absolutely brilliant image for this. It's like Pac-Man, just relentlessly gobbling up all these little dots of fear. Paku, paku, paku. It's this constant, never-ending consumption of our collective anxiety. What a picture, right? So, if the outside world is constantly serving up all this fear, what's the trap inside our own minds that keeps us coming back for another helping? Well, the core problem is actually super simple. It really just boils down to our obsession with the future. We live in this constant state of what if. We spend all of our mental energy worrying about a tomorrow that, let's be honest, doesn't even exist yet. We can't control it, and most of the time, it never even happens the way we've catastrophized it in our heads. And this gives us a really stark choice. We can either live in the trap, just constantly anxious about what might happen, or we can live in the truth and focus on what is happening right here, right now. But let's face it, modern life, with all its pressures, it just pushes us almost completely into that first column, into the trap. And here's the real kicker. The real cost of living in that trap. It totally robs the present moment of all its power. You literally cannot be brilliant or creative or effective right now if your mind is always stuck in later. You just can't shine today if you're blinded by all these imagined horrors of tomorrow. Okay, so we've nailed down the problem, right? The world feeds us fear and our minds get stuck in the future. So what's the solution? Well, it's not some complicated 10-step plan. Nope. It's a single, incredibly powerful question that just acts like a sword, slicing right through all that noise. Really, the core of this whole philosophy comes down to one single thought. A thought that changes everything. It snaps you right back to the present moment and grounds you in what's actually important. And here it is. If I were to die tomorrow, what would I do now? Seriously, ask yourself that. I mean, really ask it. When you confront the absolute, undeniable certainty of your own end, something pretty amazing happens. And the reason this question is so powerful is that it makes lying to yourself, well, impossible. All those little nagging fears, what will people think? What if I fail? What if I get judged? They just melt away. When you're faced with your own mortality, you have no choice but to be authentic. You're forced to focus on what truly, deeply matters to you right now. Okay, so this all sounds good in theory, right? But how does it actually work in the real world? Let's get practical. Let's apply this philosophy to business using a great example from the source material. Let's say you want to make and sell t-shirts. The globalist, or let's call it the fearful mindset, immediately asks, okay, where can I get this thing made for the lowest possible price so I can maximize my profit? And the answer to that is usually, somewhere like China. But the creator, the authentic mindset, asks a totally different question. It asks, How can I create something that's truly valuable, something unique? And maybe that means using traditional Japanese materials to make a really special premium product. So you see the difference? That globalist path, which the source actually calls the satanic path, is focused only on price and how much can I make. It's totally driven by this fear of not having enough. But the creator path, that's all about value. The goal isn't just about making a quick buck, it's about creating something new, something meaningful, something unique that comes from your own roots. And the principle underneath all this is what really matters. One path is basically about exploitation, right? Finding the cheapest way to do something just to serve yourself. The other path is about creation. It's about building new value that actually reflects your own heritage and your authenticity. At the end of the day, it's a choice between taking and making. And this really brings us to the big takeaway of this whole philosophy. It all comes down to a simple, but really profound choice. A choice that doesn't just define our work, but our entire lives. So here it is, broken down into 3 simple steps. Step 1, you gotta consciously stop letting your mind get tangled up in the future. Step 2, when that fear and anxiety starts to creep in, you hit it with the ultimate question. If I die tomorrow, what do I do now? And then, step 3, based on that honest, authentic answer, you choose your path. And really, these are the only 2 paths. You can be the critic. That's the person who lives in fear, who consumes but never produces anything, and who just pulls others down with negativity. Or you can be the creator, the person who acts from that authentic place, who's busy building cool things. And by doing that, they lift everybody else up around them. There's a quote from the source that just nails this. It says, "Criticism and negativity, they're born from being idle." When you are truly, deeply engaged in the act of creating something, focused on your authentic work, you don't have the time for that stuff. You don't have the energy for fear and criticism. So why does any of this matter? What's the bottom line? It's simple. Your thoughts determine your actions, and your actions create your reality. A mind that's stuck on fear and criticism is going to create a small, kind of dark reality for itself. But a mind focused on authentic creation, that's going to build an expansive, meaningful one. And so that leaves us with one final thought. And it's really more of a direct challenge to you. This isn't a maybe, it's a 100% stone-cold fact. You are going to die. So, knowing that, facing that truth head-on, what are you going to do? Right now.